Welcome to Dr. Roger and Friends, the bright side of longevity, hosted by three Ps in a podcast, Doc Roger, Teresa, and Danielle. Thanks for joining us for Coffee and Conversation. Hi, and welcome to The Bright Side. Today we welcome a very special guest, Marc Middleton. Marc's mission is to inspire people to make the rest of their lives the best of their lives. He is the founder of Growing Bolder, a multimedia company producing active lifestyles and wellness content with a focus on sharing stories of ordinary people who are living extraordinary lives. As Marc often says, it's not about age, it's about attitude. Marc is a multiple Emmy Award-winning broadcaster, the editor and publisher of Growing Bolder magazine, not to mention a writer, producer, director, and master swimmer, and world record holder. He's also a self-taught artist. Growing Bolder has been called a wrecking ball of truth and inspiration.
Marc Middleton is with us today. Marc, so happy to have you with us. You are an inspiration as well as a good friend to me and have been for such a long time. It's kind of you. I know this is a critical, crazy time for you in particular because of what you do. And just want to thank you very much for giving us this time.
Roger, it's truly my pleasure. And I know your listeners don't know that we're looking at one another now on Zoom, but I very much feel like I'm the beneficiary of a free telemedicine call with the esteemed Dr. Roger Landry. So thank you for allowing this.
Oh, you're kind. Well, congratulations on your book, Marc. It's been out now, 6 months or so, I think, right? And it's called Growing Bolder. Defy the cult of youth, live with passion and purpose. I'm sure that's just jumping off the shelves.
You know what? I put it out there really as a validation piece, and it's worked very, very well. We've not marketed it at all or promoted it, but it is doing well. But you know what it really is doing, Roger? It truly resonates with the people that read it. I've had many people in the fitness industry that have come to me and say that after they've read it, they've shared it with their personal trainers as a study guide, and then they've created book clubs with the members. And basically what they have told me, and it truly feels to me like it's a missing piece in a very large industry. But what they've told me is that we all know we need to exercise more. We all know we need to engage in positive lifestyle modification. But the missing piece is, what do we do to motivate them? What's the messaging? What's the narrative? How can we convince people to do that? And they've told me that reading the book has changed their business for the better. So I'm encouraged about it. I think that it's going to be around for a while.
I agree. Evergreen book. You say that Growing Bolder, which is your media company, and you can tell us a little bit about exactly what that is, but as well as the title of your book. But you refer to that you're a wrecking ball of truth and inspiration. You want to elaborate on that for us?
Well, I love that, and I wish I could take credit for it, but it would seem to be a little pompous and self-centered. But it was actually one of the blurbs that we got from somebody that read it. But I do agree with it. As you know, Roger, I'm all about the fact that we live in an overtly ageist culture, and not only do we live in it today, we grew up in it. And as you know, they've done multiple studies that by the time we're 3 years old, most of us have a very negative impression of older people. And, this just continues year after year throughout our life. We're just overwhelmed with messages from the media, from our family, from our friends, and even ourselves. We do not think that aging is a time of opportunity, but rather it's a time of loss and limitation. And I think this message, this belief system kind of lives in our subconscious until we begin to feel the effects of age. And, that usually happens in our 30s and 40s and 50s. And then all of this messaging that we've been exposed to for years and years and years begins to kind of turn inward on us. And, it's a critical time for us. It's been proven. And talking to most people, I would say this without this disclaimer talking to you, I feel like I've got to say, you know this. I've learned many things that I say from you, but our belief system is critically important. We so anticipate the negative benchmarks of aging that we all but guarantee they're going to come about. And it has been proven time and time again, if we can change our belief system about the way we age, we can change the way we age. And that's pretty much what Growing Bolder is about. But I always feel like I have to offer the disclaimer that, we're not ignoring reality. We are mortal beings. It's part of the human condition. Bad things happen to good people. There are no guarantees. You can live a perfect life. You can make every right lifestyle decision, and you still could come down with a deadly disease or be hit by a bus. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't try, and it doesn't mean that we shouldn't acknowledge that no matter how old we are, we always have the opportunity to live in the moment, to have love and to have joy and to have passion and have purpose. And, that's a message that people need to hear and people want to hear.
Oh, you're absolutely right. And I can't think of anyone saying it better. It's about accommodation, and we have found that probably the greatest, I won't call it a resource, but the source of ageism is, as you already alluded to, in ourselves, in older adults in particular, because it has been a subliminal as well as a very loud and very forthright message we've lived with all of our lives. And that's kind of hard to turn that around sometimes, particularly when things are getting a little tough.
It is. And you know what we have found, and I just love where how Growing Bolder is positioned in this regard, is that, we always say that, if you read books on branding, they will tell you that, your customer is the hero. It's not you. You're the guide. And we've always felt very much like we are the guide. And we do what we do. We affect the change that we're trying to affect by sharing the stories of ordinary people that are living extraordinary lives. We call it the someone like me effect. And I don't mean someone like me. I just mean when we can see ourselves in others, that's when it finally clicks and we can say, you know what? I can come back from a broken hip at age 90. I can come back from a stroke at 70. I can, lose 40 pounds and find quality of life. I can have a new relationship beyond a certain age. Those stories, as you know, Roger, are everywhere. It's just that other than you and me and a few other people, nobody is telling it in a way that resonates with people. And that's all they have to do is see what's possible. And all of a sudden they believe.
Yeah. Teresa, I know you've been burning to ask Marc something, so I'm going to step back a little bit here and let you go. And Danielle, also, you'll be next.
Hi, Marc.
Hi, Teresa.
Glad to have you. I know you're very familiar with the concept of prehabilitation, and I don't think that's a term that a lot of people know. And so talk to us about that, would you?
Well, I thank you. I appreciate that. It is one of our main talking points, and I actually learned it from a neurosurgeon who, before he would do surgery on anybody, required, if possible, that they undergo rigorous training so that after surgery they could recover better. And it made so much sense to me that I started kind of calling prehabilitation aging's ultimate no-brainer, because in extending it from that, the one given that we all have to know and understand is that we will all face a series of health challenges as we age. Some of them unexpected, like this coronavirus that we're all dealing with now, and to a large extent, our ability to either avoid those health challenges or recover from them is determined by our overall health and well-being at the time. So to me, prehabilitation is just positive lifestyle modification. It's another word for exercise and diet and plenty of sleep and stress reduction all rolled into one. And I think that all of us are making a huge mistake if we don't acknowledge that we need to prepare for what's coming. So that's what prehabilitation is just acknowledging what's going to come and understanding that it is aging's ultimate no-brainer.
Yeah, I had a personal experience with that. I, as you know, Marc, and so does Danielle and Teresa, but I had an ankle replacement, and it took a long time before I could find a physician who would do that. And it turns out he repairs the ankles for the Boston Celtics, so I was in good hands. But he told me that his criteria for operating on me were very, very rigorous, and I had to be in very good shape, the right weight. And he told me I needed beautiful skin. So I thought he thought I had beautiful, but he meant my ankle skin. So, and I found that, and he had to do that because not everyone is ready. However, there are many people who were not ready, he told me initially, but they went back, did what they needed to do, and became a candidate, and therefore were able to get that surgery. So what a concept, because I think it's all about accommodation, and I just think that there's so much that we can do for those slings and arrows which come our way. We couldn't be in more agreement.
Roger, I love that point, and you make a good one. And just to expound upon that a little bit, as a physician that as you know better than anybody, whether you can have a particular procedure is less dependent upon your age now than your overall conditioning, and that works both ways. I get just slightly offended now where, in this coronavirus scare, they're describing the elderly as people over the age of 60. And, I know people who are 50 that I would describe as elderly, and I know people that are 80 that are nowhere near elderly. So we have more control over, when we become elderly, when we become frail than most of us realize.
Yeah, you have some examples in your magazine and with Launchpad. And I know that Danielle is burning to ask you how Launchpad's doing and to elaborate on that, so I'll let her go.
I will. And, I just wanted to point out, I loved your comment, too, about mindset. So it's not just being physically prepared, but how you look at things, because if you're having a physical concern now and then COVID-19, staying motivated, believing you can get better is so important. So on that note, yes, I loved Launchpad to What's Next. I was so fortunate. I got to be behind the scenes filming and taking photographs of everybody. So can you tell us what else is happening with Launchpad with Growing Bolder?
Well, thank you for asking. And, one of the reasons it was so successful is people like Dr. Roger Landry participated. I can't tell you how rewarding that was to ask a few, thought leaders and movers and shakers if they wanted to play with us. And, they all said yes. And I really do think that, we captured, something really rare. Shouldn't be rare, but it is rare. And Launchpad to What's Next is a 60 or 90-minute show. We edited two versions of it that's running on public broadcasting stations during their pledge periods. There's 4 of them a year. And they told us that very few stations would run it in December because it was brand new, and there's like 3,000 different shows that they could run. But it was picked up by almost 75% of all public broadcasting stations. It was, from what we've been told, number 13 in terms of overall viewership out of the 3,000 that they have the opportunity to air. So we think it did pretty good. This is another pledge period right now, and granted, things are a little bit unusual now, but it's got a lot of great pickup. And I think over the years, because they have a license to run it for 3 or 4 years, it'll continue to pick up and continue to resonate. Beyond that, we are turning it into a live touring show. We had a show scheduled for the Top Performing Arts Center here in Orlando on April 1st that we've unfortunately had to cancel. We have another one scheduled for June 11th in Broward County in South Florida that we may or may not have to cancel. And then beyond that, we've got 4 scheduled for the villages this year. And we're working very hard to try to create a touring show that will go all over the country. So we think the message is great. It resonates with people. And, it's just kind of part of building a tribe of people who believe that more is possible.
So how can people see, I guess they would tune into their local public television channel and look at the programming. Is that how they would find out?
Yeah, yes. If you pledge to, this is kind of convoluted right now, and we're working on this. If you make a pledge to your local public broadcasting station, that is one of the thank you gifts. We've got something called the Growing Bolder portal where, we're hoping we can convince you and twist your arm to participate with us a little more. if you join that, and I think it's honestly, I don't know, I think it's $29 a year, but we do have some access codes. So if you have some listeners out there that would like an access code, I can get you that. But the normal off the shelf price is $29 a year. If you join the portal, you can watch the entire show beginning to end. You can see each of the presenters' talks individually. You can see behind the scenes interviews that we've done with all of the presenters, including Dr. Roger Landry, and there's so much more on there. So, that's really the best thing. So it's growingbolder.com/portal. And if you want to figure out a way, Roger, to disperse some access codes, let me know, and I'll figure out a way to get them to you.
Well, that's kind of you, Mark. Thank you very much.
You bet.
And we'll make sure that we have the links that you need in the description of this podcast. And I also religiously go back to the Growing Bolder homepage, where they typically list all the places in your local area. So make sure you check the homepage for where things are airing.
I appreciate that. And I know you guys, Masterpiece Living is doing so much great work. And, we follow you all the time. One of the things that we threw together in the past 7 days is, something that we call Click on This, which is literally all it takes to get started. And we've created a big button that says Click on This on growingbolder.com. And if you click on it, it takes you to a new page that we've built that has organized links that can take you to virtual tours of national parks, of museums all over the country. You can listen to all sorts of artists. You can take online courses. You can learn how to paint. You can learn how to speak a different language. It's all of these things that can help people instead of just wasting time right now, turning it into a time where they can benefit themselves and continue to grow.
Well, that was leading into the next question, because, it's hard to talk about anything these days without addressing what's happening, that a tiny little virus has brought the world to a halt, and that we're all see our lives significantly changed, no matter what was going on, and we're all adjusting to that. And so, Mark, you just gave us some resources that people potentially could use. You have any other any words for people who have found their lives brought to a sudden change?
Yeah, and I'm sorry if I jumped ahead, Roger. I appreciate that. Personally, I've been going stir crazy. I've done more stress eating in the past 3 days than I've done in the past 3 decades. And I think this has to be an especially difficult time for people that are overweight, people that smoke, people that drink more than they should. And, I think we have to work real hard. I mean, you said it several times in this interview, accommodation. I swim 3 days a week, and that's been canceled. So now I go out and run early in the mornings. We all have to find a way. We can't let this disrupt our lives so much that our immune systems become impaired. And I think those of us who are fortunate that it hasn't affected us yet, we've got to get a lot of sleep. We've got to eat well. We've got to reduce our stress, and we've got to figure out a way, just to keep moving forward. So I think this is it's a challenge, but I also think it's an opportunity. That's how we're trying to look at it as a business, and that's how I'm trying to look at it personally. If I can come out of this on the other side, having lost some weight and, build up strength just using my body weight as opposed to going to the gym, I'm going to be pretty damn proud of myself.
Yeah, talk about accommodation, right? Well, yeah. I think that we can be stronger and better. In many ways, I think our society was getting a little arrogant about its relationship with nature. It was Jonas Salk who said that if all insects died, that all life would end. And if man all died, the world would flourish. So that's our real relationship. So I think we're being reminded by this little guy, COVID-19, but it is a very, very serious thing going on.
Yeah, I was just going to say, as far as the gym, that was the thing that hit me the hardest. I'm like, I can't lift weights, so I've got to get real creative at home, how I can get, all the stretching and, okay, more Pilates, more this, more that, and mixing things up. So definitely more creative in our workouts lately, for sure.
I think it's a reminder that we're all in this together, and that we're the family of man, and we can help each other out.
Amen. One thing that I find myself doing is I read a study today that said on average, and as you know, there are getting enough data, and it's changing every day. But on average, the incubation period is somewhere between 5 and 11.5 days. So I'm just continuing to back time, every day. All right, where was I 11 days ago? All right, where was I 11? Who was I with? And I think every day I get further past that, because for the last 5 days I've lived in my house with my wife and haven't seen anybody. So I'm looking forward to when that's been 11 days.
I was coming off a 10,000-mile road trip.
Oh my gosh.
Over 2 months. And I've been backpedaling, and I've been alone here with my wife for 5 days, and in another 5 or so, I'll think I will have, because it seemed like the doors were slamming behind us as we were trying to get home, and many of the places that we visited were suddenly hit with lots of cases and even deaths. So we're very optimistic that we did the right thing once we started hearing about this. But everybody is struggling.
It is amazing, and I just cannot, I feel for people and for businesses. I mean, is there a business that hasn't been amazingly impacted? And I just think that the challenge for us as a culture now, Roger, is to figure out a way to maintain community. I mean, here we are. I'm looking at you and Danielle and Teresa, and we're communicating, we're staying connected. We just have to find ways, and primarily it's through technology or the old-fashioned telephone or even a handwritten note, to stay connected, because, before this happened, the message that you and I have both been spreading as fast as we can is that, low socialization, kills people. And, so we have to look out for the elderly that are among us, and we have to figure out a way to stay connected ourselves. And, and if people out there are feeling depressed, they've got to reach out and ask for help.
Indeed.
It's even possible to be a wrecking ball of truth and inspiration in this current era, isn't it?
I think it always is. It's basically, it is the growing bolder ethos. So we look at aging as not loss and limitation, but passion and purpose and possibility. And I always say the secret to successful aging is to not mourn what's lost, but to celebrate what remains. And I think we've all got a lot to celebrate. We've got a lot to be grateful for, and that's the challenge right now for all of us to just keep smiling and keep trying to help one another.
Well for sure. Well, your company allowed me and allows so many people to have a voice. And in our small way, we'd like to give you even more voice. Is there anything else you want to share with us at this particular time, Mark?
It really is an exciting time. And I say that with the caveat that, no one knows for certain what 6 months are going to bring. So we're just moving forward, pretending like, we're changing the culture of aging, and hope that, the world conspires to help us.
Yeah, well, whatever it is you got in the oven, I hope it turns up hot, and I'm sure it will. Mark, you are an inspiration to me. You're an inspiration to the whole field of aging and longevity, and you have given a voice to so many people whose messages are just so inspiring and optimistic, and it's a better place for you being around and for Growing Bolder doing what they do. So thank you so much for what you do and for what you did with us today.
I can't tell you how much that means to me, Roger, coming from you, because I always have held you in the highest esteem. I love what you do. So thank you for that. Danielle and Teresa, I apologize. Once you get me going, I don't stop. So thank you so much for.
We love it. Don't ever apologize.
I appreciate it. Let's do it again.
Mark, be well, stay well, and keep doing what you're doing.
All right. You too, Roger. See ya. Bye-bye, Danielle. Bye, Teresa.
Take care.
Bye.
Hi. We hope this podcast is a source of inspiration. If you're ready to dive deeper into these concepts and really apply them in your life, join us over at Master Life. You'll have a personalized experience and lots of support to create your own long, bright future. mymasterlife.com. You've been listening to Dr. Roger and Friends, The Bright Side of Longevity. If you like the show, please rate and review, and be sure to click to follow.